YouTube, my name is rhianaB and welcome back to another episode of my Survivor review. Let's delve right into it. We delved a little bit of aftermath from last Tribal Council. Obviously the healers were very taken aback by Jessica's elimination, but things in this episode really don't start to heat up until the next day when Lauren, when she was doing some like handiwork or something, I really wasn't sure what she was doing, she looks in the bag of nails, of hammering nails, and she finds a little rolled up piece of paper. Now the first thing I thought of was, oh hey, she found a clue to the hidden immunity idol, because at this point no one has found the hidden immunity idol that was meant for like the merged camp. But no, it actually turns out to be a hidden advantage, which basically it gives Lauren the opportunity to hold a vote. And when I mean hold a vote, I mean she can use the advantage, she can put it in the Tribal Council urn, and she can skip that vote, and in return, she can use another vote in a future Tribal Council, which means she can I think that only means she can use 2 votes. I don't think it's a system where every Tribal Council where she doesn't vote that she gets votes added on. I think it's an only like you get 1 extra vote type of a thing. I don't know, the rules were a little weird, but that's a huge thing for Lauren, and whichever alliance she chooses to be on, that can really, really, really affect her alliance, and it could lean in their favor. Next is the reward challenge, and we had the winning team being JP, Cole, Devin, Chrissy, Ryan, and Joe. But there's a twist. They win a reward of basically an Italian spaghetti dinner with bread, salad, kind of almost like an Olive Garden type of a thing. But here's the thing. First off, Joe wasn't actually on the team. He didn't participate in the reward challenge. He drew a lottery rock, which basically was whoever drew the lottery rock would automatically go and be on the reward without competing in the challenge. And then the person with the lottery rock gets a chance to arrange the order of people who privately get to eat a huge family-sized portion of food. Which basically that means that one person will go to a little area where they have all the food on the table. It's meant to feed everyone. So they have to kind of divide their portions up, or they don't even need to worry about the portions. They can just eat how much they want to. And this is where things get interesting. Joe uses this advantage of choosing the order of who gets to eat first as a way of a strategic play. He decides to put himself last, and he decides to put Devin up first. And his thinking is, it takes a little bit of a target off his back for him to be at the end, and he thinks he can maybe work with Devin in the future, so he puts Devin up first. So we get through 2 people. We get through Devin and we get through JP. And then Cole goes up for his turn because he's in the middle here. He goes and he sees that there's some writing underneath the plate. That there's writing on the plate of spaghetti that they're eating. And turns out it's a clue to a hidden immunity idol that's hidden underneath the tribe flag. Now obviously he was trying his best to hide this, but it really didn't work. He ends up taking the spaghetti and putting it on the napkin that was wrapped around the bread and tried to cover up the plate. That did not fool everyone, however, because obviously Chrissy and Ryan, who were after him, they found the clue. And even Ryan, and good play on Ryan, he ends up hiding the plate underneath basically a tree trunk, a small tree trunk, basically burying that plate, which was genius. So obviously, we're gonna have a bit of an explosion at camp after the reward. And yes, it did happen, but not the way that we really expected. So Ryan, he sneaks over to the flag while everyone's talking about the reward, and he ends up finding the idol and just quickly stuffing it in his pants with JP literally right next to him, and I don't even know if JP even noticed. I mean, granted, I think over these episodes we've kind of realized that JP's not really in the game all that much, so he missed a lot of things. I mean, he missed the clue. Devin did too, but I think he was more focused on food. And honestly, there was so much spaghetti on the plate that if he actually divided everything out, he wouldn't have noticed anyway. And then Chrissy goes to investigate to make sure Ryan finds it, since they are in an alliance together. But that's when things really blow up, because Cole sees Chrissy down by the flag and he just takes off running. He runs toward the flag, wrestles Chrissy to the ground, starts digging where she's trying to cover things up for Ryan, and then all of a sudden Ben jumps in realizing that there could be an idol under there. Obviously, there's no idol there anymore because Ryan has it in his pants. And then, because I think Ben realizes that there is no idol there, he does see Cole apparently tuck his shirt into his swimming trunks, and he assumes that to be that, oh, Cole found the idol, which obviously he didn't because we know that Ryan found the idol. But that really just means that's another target on Cole's back. He's already disliked by some members of the tribe. He is a threat in challenges because he is such a strong guy. And he's not really that reliable. That's 3 strikes against him, and obviously he went hard after that idol, which means he found it, or he was really, really pushing it for him to find it. So basically the question is, what's Cole gonna do? What is he gonna do to get himself out of this? Well, the only way he can at this point is to win immunity, which he does. We move on to the immunity challenge, and with that much of a really thin wire of who's gonna win, is it gonna be Cole or is it gonna be JP? Really, we weren't entirely sure, but Cole ends up winning the next immunity challenge, and on the tribal council chopping block, we got a bit to go through. So it's not as extensive as last week where we had 5 people on the chopping block, but we still have a couple of names. We have basically everyone on healers with the exception of Mike. Really the focus is on Joe because he's played so many idols in the past and he's a very hard player, he's a schemer. And then we have Desi. She did win the first immunity challenge and she's proven herself to be very smart and very strong. And then on the flip side, we have Ben, who the healers are now trying to semi-target. Because Ben is such a big powerhouse player, which he is, and that's not them exaggerating something or them telling a falsehood here. It is true, Ben is a big threat in this game right now. So they're gonna pitch to the hustlers, mostly, that getting Ben out is the smartest thing to do. We even get a really weird but kind of cute little moment with Ben playing a spy while Joe is talking to Ryan and Devin about possibly getting Ben out and saying, you know, he's a big threat. If you go to the end with him, there's a good chance he's gonna win. He's a Marine, he's a really smart guy, he's a really pretty friendly, likable guy. That's not the person you want to go with to the end. And Ryan does agree with that, but he also knows that Ben's a part of his alliance, so it's that matter of time of who and when you cut your ties. And then we move on to another big fight, which was between Ben and Joe, because obviously Joe's going to do whatever it takes for him to get to the next day, especially when the healers are on the bottom right now. And he basically confronts Ben and basically kind of comes up with this little lie. We actually really don't know if it is a lie, but according to Ben, it definitely was a lie. That Ben had sworn on the Marine Corps, which was what he was a part of when he was in military. I don't know if I said that technically correct, but you know what I mean. And he took a huge offense to that. He, as we know, he's gone through a lot of hard times with the whole war thing and being in combat, and that's something he's still trying to cope with to this day. And he takes his duty and his military background very, very seriously. So when Joe brings this up, it's a real heavy blow for him and he really gets angry. And now because of that whole situation, now Ben is going to Mike and wants to bring Mike over to their side so they can get Joe out. Now obviously Mike is probably not going to do this because he's been with the healer since day 1. That's been his tribe. And also I think Mike is smart enough to realize that even if he does flip, yeah, it'll save him for a few days, but he'll be on the bottom of the chopping block. And that's not the best thing to do. You really need to make smart moves, maybe manipulating the other side a little bit, but you can't do a hardcore flip over because that's not going to work well for you. We've seen it in the past of other seasons of Survivor. Now we get to Tribal Council and a pretty emotional roller coaster. It did start strong, it did start out very confrontational, but it turns into a really an emotional and a very deep moment when Ben apologized to Joe for his overreacting to what he said about his military past, and it kind of just turns into a big moment of talking about deep things that happen on the show and how much your real life and your real personality can come into play in this game, even though it's a game about deceit and deception. But that didn't last very long because we had to go to the vote. And Lauren, that was impressive. She had some big maneuvers. So she ends up using her advantage. So she kind of has to pretend that she's writing a vote because obviously everyone's behind her, and if they look close enough, they can really see what she's doing. So she rolls up a piece of parchment and replaces and puts that in her bra in replacement of the advantage which she puts into the tribal council urn. And then, because of that, we had a tie. It was between Joe and Desi, and then that of course means that Joe and Desi cannot vote and everyone else has to vote again. So that is when Lauren decides to kind of pretend to write a vote and then scoot off a folded piece of paper off the edge and then just pretend to put it in the urn. Wow, I gotta say, the Hustlers, I mean, they are definitely living up to their name of being Hustlers. That was impressive. Both Ryan with hiding the plate and Lauren trying to hide the fact she had that advantage, that was amazing to watch. But between Joe and Desi in the tie, it ended up being Desi, and Desi was the next person voted off of Survivor Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers. And also, Desi becomes the first member of our jury. Now, to talk about next week, I think the main theme of next week is going to be who can hold their secrets. So we start with Lauren, because obviously the only person who knows about this advantage is Ben, because before that tribal council, Lauren did confide into Ben her advantage, so he's the only one who knows besides her. So can she keep that secret away from everyone else in her alliance? Or is she gonna maybe tell some other people to get them on their side and to understand what's happening here? Because it really could affect her alliance. And then we have Ryan, who, as we know now, has the hidden immunity idol. And apparently he tells Devin? And I think he tells Ben. I'm already forgetting. I'm very tired, guys. I'm sorry. I think it is Ben and Devin. He tells them both, and then of course Ben and Devin are gonna get together and they're gonna talk about the idol. So is this gonna blow up in Ryan's face after he tells his ally members? That's up in the air right now. It's worked in the past and other times it hasn't worked, so we're gonna have to see what plays out here. I don't think Ryan's in any immediate trouble just from sensing it. I think it may be a bad move, but I don't think it's going to be so detrimental that it's going to ruin his game, but it may not help it. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see till next week and have to see what happens. So predictions on who I think is going home. Now, I was very adamant last week when I said Joe should go home. I'm still very on board with that. Obviously, everyone on Healers is a bit in trouble right now, because really the only two that are really focused on right now, it's Joe and it's Cole. Mike is kind of liked by a lot of people, and he can easily work with many people on the other side, so I don't think he's in immediate danger. He's kind of playing underdog right now, so that's working well for him. And because Joe is the schemer and Cole is kind of like the really not liked person on the tribe, they're the ones who are going to have the bigger targets on their back. Besides that, I think the seed was planted in tonight's episode with Ben being a target. I think Ryan and other people in his alliance are going to start to realize Ben is probably not the best person to keep for too long. If they carry him for too long, I shouldn't say carry him, but the more they bring him along in their alliance and the further he gets in the game, that could really hurt them in the future. He could easily win if he gets to the finals, so that may come into play as well. So I'm going to say Joe, Cole, and Ben are our top predictions on the chopping block for next week. But again, we're just gonna have to wait and see. There you guys go. That is my review of this week's Survivor. If you guys liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave me comments down below. What did you think of this week's episode? And if you want to see my future videos or videos I've already done, go ahead, hit subscribe and hit the little bell icon so you can be notified when my videos come out. That's all I have for you guys today, and until the next video, bye!